Hey there, episode 6, the PGF Players Podcast, the legend Amanda Freed. My name is Daron Sutton, and we've got two great guests. We're going to kind of crawl inside of their heads. And Freed, we've gone past September 1st. We've started to roll out our episodes that we recorded right around then for the last 3 or 4 weeks. But now here we are. We're going to start focusing more on recruiting and why athletes make their decisions and what it looks like. Because all summer long, you and I talk about 9-1 is coming, 9-1 is coming. Well, Phoenyx Silva joins us. She's from Massachusetts. She chose Iowa. And it's a very unique reason why she chose Iowa. And it opened my eyes. We could have just honestly talked about that, but also a great guest. I'm excited to share Phoenyx with everybody else.
Yeah, this is somebody who had high hopes in the recruiting process, had a top 10, a top 5, top 3. I mean, she did all the right things leading up to it. And at the end of the day, Iowa was that second phone call made, and it was the family atmosphere. It was the feeling she had with the coaches on campus, and all the things you hope that you experience when you're going through this recruiting process to make the best possible decision. Her family had a lot to do with it, and she was just a really fun athlete to talk about. Listen to the way she talked about her teammates and her journey over the next couple of years before she gets to Iowa, but a fun one that we're going to be able to follow.
Amongst everyone's busy schedule, I had a chance to have a conversation with Shelby, McKenzie. I feel like we've known her since she was like 5, even though I'm exaggerating that. Remember, folks, if you've watched and loyally watched, a lot of you have, the PGF championships through years gone by because they're fun and they're hundreds and thousands and millions of you have watched on YouTube. Shelby McKenzie, I believe there may have been only 1 or 2 other home runs in all the age groups that year in 2019. She homered at 12 years old. And so we're going to reunite with Shelby. Look, she was a Futures All-American this year, but I had a great chance to talk with her, and I'd love to know your thoughts on the evolution of Shelby as she now gets ready to go into what is her final high school season.
Yeah, you just never know when you see a 12-year-old hit the strides that she did at her age, and you think, is she peaking? Is she still have room for development? But this is an athlete that has gotten better and better every year. And here she is, committed to Florida State, chose it a lot because it's in her hometown. But for all the reasons that we talked about, the coaching staff, the academics, the athletics, but this is an athlete who's going to bring a lot of power to Florida State. And she still has a year to go. I mean, these athletes are young and they're vibrant and they're excited and they want to learn more. And so I'm excited to hear what Shelby has to say.
Yeah, that's our show. It's a brand new episode. It's episode 6. We're glad to lay it on you, as we say. You young athletes, especially all of those that are waiting to and hoping to maybe play college softball, you're going to love our first guest. You're going to learn a lot behind the scenes. It's the Players Podcast, and you found it. Let's go. Players Podcast, episode 6. This is fun that we've had this many episodes and great stories from athletes that, you see throughout the summer. We see at great events all throughout the United States, but then school becomes a big part of their journey. This is when we really like connecting with athletes, and especially after September 1st. And if you're a 20, 25, 26, where you're getting closer to that age group, and in this case, the 25s, everything changes for you. And it did for a young athlete out of Massachusetts. She joins us. She was a Futures All-American. Phoenyx Silva, spending time. She's at LaSalle Academy. Her travel program is the Rhode Island Thunder. We love Dave Lottie, certainly know what he has done to impact this space. Phoenyx, thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I have all these things you shared with me leading up to September 1st. I sent emails, DMs, tweets, college coaches letting me know my season progressed. I did a top 10, top 5, top 3 list. You talked about the big whiteboard that you put together. So you did all that in advance, and then once September 1st hit, take it from there for us.
Oh God, it was all coming in so fast at once, getting texts and calls and emails on midnight at September 1st. It was just very quick, and it was very humbling too. A lot of colleges I thought were going to call did it, and a lot of schools like Iowa, for example, that I thought weren't going to call ended up did, and obviously it worked out perfectly. But yeah, it's been a great journey, and I'm just really excited about.
Well, so I'm curious, you made those lists of the top 10, top 5, top 3. I think that's so important for athletes to do that, to just keep so many options open. But like you said, at the end of the day, you just never know what's going to come your way. Was Iowa on those lists? I mean, you mentioned not thinking that they might call September 1st, but what was it when you got that call from them that you thought, this might be somewhere I can find myself?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they were actually my second call that I ended up talking to, and they were in my top 10 for sure. I just wasn't expecting them to call because I only remember them watching a few of my games, or at least I remember seeing them at my games. But yeah, they weren't on my mind at first when I thought of colleges who were going to call me.
When you mentioned when we did have a chance to talk to you prior to the Futures All-American game that the energy of the coaching staff was really important to you, that environment. So when you met those coaches, what was it that really drew you to their program?
It was just such a family dynamic over there, and I'm a big family girl. I'm super close to especially my parents and my brother, and I needed that when I went to college, especially from coaches. So I felt that I had that connection with them immediately when I arrived, and it was just great to talk to them, and I felt instantly connected with the players as well. So that was a great experience.
So it's Renee Gillespie's the head coach, Coach Brian, Coach Mandy, Coach Aaron on the coaching staff. You've through social been very open and giving them a lot of credit. But Gibby, as an example, I mean, if you tell me that it felt like family, I named names on who was there. Give me an example, a moment you had, a conversation you had. You were standing looking out at the football field and something was said at the football stadium. Give me a good example of what felt warm, because I think that's the right word. What felt warm to make you feel at home?
Absolutely. I mean, when I first saw Coach Brian, it was a recruits, coaches, family, and players meeting with a bunch of ADs and people who work with the softball staff. And I just saw Coach Brian going up to the players, giving them a hug, or just interacting with them, asking how about their day was. And that just reminded me of my dad, just being very intuitive with how he thought of me, and just very interactive and always asking how I'm doing, whatever. And my mom was exactly like Renee. She's always just very happy-go-lucky, and it was just instant connection, as instant mom and dad figures.
And did you take something positive? Because you at least shared socially. You went to Pitt, you went to Virginia, you went to Iowa, obviously. Did you take something positive, I'm guessing, because you thanked both those other schools for the time that they spent with you? I'm guessing you learned a little bit about at each stop, that you took something positive and you gained knowledge. That's a big part of it, too. Did you gain some knowledge at Virginia and Pitt on the positive side?
Absolutely. They're both amazing programs. There was really nothing wrong about them. It's just Iowa, I had this certain feeling when I went there. It was just so welcoming, and I truly felt that I could succeed and be happy there. Virginia and Pitt, honestly, same thing. It's just the coaching staff was really a big part of how I felt when I got there.
So cool. Isn't this cool?
I know. I could talk about this all day, because leading up to September 1st, all the athletes are talking about it. And it's a different experience for everybody, right? A lot of athletes are hoping for calls and they don't receive calls. A lot of athletes aren't receiving from the schools that maybe they think they're going to receive from. So it's just a different journey for everybody. I love talking to athletes about how they were able to maneuver it. And so now that you've been through it, and all these young athletes are thinking, man, that's going to be me next year or in 2 years, how would you sum up the experience into maybe, a piece of advice for those athletes as they're preparing for the recruiting experience that they're going to go on their recruiting journey? Is there some piece of advice that you would want to share?
Absolutely. I'm just going to repeat what my mom says always to me, and sometimes I get a little aggravated at her for it because she says it so often. But she always says to keep an open mind and really think about all the options you have and be grateful for them, because all the schools that called me, I'm very appreciative of them and I respect their programs tremendously. It's just Iowa, like I said, was just completely different in the family aspect. So that's why I ended up going and choosing them. But I really did keep an open mind throughout this process, and I'm very big on that for other athletes to consider.
So I want to talk a little bit about you as an athlete because, you went through that recruiting process, heavily recruited, played for the Futures All-American team. I mean, you're on the radar, everybody's radar. Describe yourself. What's your self-scouting report as an athlete? Your characteristics on the field, your energy on the field, maybe some of your strengths on the field. How would you describe yourself?
Absolutely. I'm a very passionate player. I live for this game. A lot of people say, oh, it's just for fun, but I see this as like a full, like lifetime thing for me. I truly have put all my blood, sweat, and tears into this game, and it's made me into the person I am, and it's just given me so many opportunities. And obviously, it's given me a place to be for the next 4 years, which I'm super grateful for. And it's just brought my family closer together. It's really just done everything for me. So I'm very passionate about this game. I'll be energetic from the moment the first pitch starts, the moment the last pitch ends. It's just completely all about energy for me, boosting up my teammates, even if I'm doing bad, having a bad fielding, hitting day, whatever. It's all about boosting me and my other teammates up.
I like that answer. It makes me excited to be your teammate if I were going to be one of your teammates. By the way, the purple nails, well done by you. There's some purple nails. I like that. That's camera friendly. That grabs the camera when you're chatting with us. I love it. Hey, so for you, and Amanda kind of started down the road, your swing, because you had an amazing summer. You had a huge spring. You were, the player of the year is named by Max Prep in Rhode Island. You're on so many lists, per se, ranked incredibly high. Your high school coach last year, Mo Jackson, you did good things. Then you did great things in the summertime. You play for a great travel team, the Thunder. But when you step in the box, and you can be descriptive, especially with Amanda listening, because you might trigger something where she can talk about it, from your spikes all the way up to the top of your helmet, what are the key moving parts in your swing? If I'm looking at that side swing, when it's right, Phoenyx, when it's right, what are the key moving parts in your swing?
Absolutely. I am big in the hinge and my hip. Keep my legs are my biggest base, and they're my main balance point. I really focus on my legs where I get all my power. So I'm super into my hip, getting in the hinge, having a great bat angle, spinning, rotating in the back, and not rotating with your shoulders. I have a problem with that, and that's when I get into my slumps. But the way to get back into that is really just focusing on my backside, and that's how I succeed.
Do you watch video of yourself? I mean,
my God.
Do you record yourself, break it down, get as slow as you can with the video? You immediately responded, so tell me how you use video.
Absolutely. Hit tracks is a big thing for me. When I go to my hitting lessons, I see a side angle like you were talking about. I see what's positive and negatives with my swing, and I try to either duplicate the positives or see how I can reinforce those positives to get rid of the negatives. And Game Changer, I've used that for many years with my team, and I'm able to see my backside like I was talking about, and obviously the result, which is great resources. So, yeah.
What's been your go-to drill? I mean, do you like the tee? Do you like front toss? I mean, because some things fix everything. If you have that drill that kind of centers you, do you have a favorite?
I would say 45 degrees to a tee on the outside of the plate. I use that every single time I do a hitting lesson before I start. And it really just gets me to be completely rotational with my barrel and really snap around instead of coming flat and down, because that's my type of swing, is to be rotational in the back. But an outside pitch, you always know if you hit it on the barrel, you know that you're hitting well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. So, yeah. Anytime you're hitting opposite field, as we talk about that too when we're broadcasting, right? Like she's going up the middle, opposite field really comfortably. She's seeing the ball. She knows she's feeling well. No, that's awesome. And I try to tell my young athletes, you got to go back to tee. Always go back to the tee, because, they think it's an elementary type of thing, but that tee can really give you great feedback. No, absolutely. So what's next for you? I mean, you're already at that elite level. For you, you've made your commitment. What are those next steps for you as an athlete to take yourself to the next level?
I really am just looking to be a leader on my team that I'm on right now for Rhode Island Thunder. I obviously am still in this mindset of being on Rhode Island Thunder. I'm not at Iowa yet, so that's coming in a few years. I don't have to worry about that for right now. So I'm just really focused on being a leader, focused on my other teammates who aren't committed yet, helping them along their processes. So I'm really just focusing on my teammates right now because I'm almost done with Rhode Island Thunder. So yeah, I'm really enjoying these moments. So yeah.
Phoenyx, you're way too pragmatic. You're way too selfless. You're way too practical for someone who's a 25. You are. Have you ever been called an old soul? Has that ever happened?
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, you are. I'm like you're where your feet are, and we all even. I'm 53, and I tell myself all the time, be where your feet are, or you'll miss out. It's cool. I mean, does that your dad is David, your mom is Sue Ann? Does that come from them? Is it all you? Tell me a little bit about the concept, as you said, of being that old soul.
I've been just told that my entire life. I mean, I guess I am old for my years, if that makes sense. But I don't know. I don't know if it sounds weird to say I'm mature, but I guess I am. I am. I've always gone with the older crowd. I've always been around my aunts and uncles and hung out with them more than my brother. But obviously I'm close to him too because he's obviously older. But yeah, I've just always been more attached to people who are older than me. So I guess that's where it comes from.
You did put a check mark by your brother's name, though, when you shared your commitment, making sure he got credit. He's an incredible high school athlete. At the top of that three-sport list was wrestling. Introduce us a little deeper to your brother Darius, where he stands now and how much he's impacted you to this point.
He is my biggest supporter. I mean, my parents are right there beside him, but he is number one. He's always been so selfish with how my parents had to travel with me to go to softball tournaments and always been right there supporting me too. So without him, I don't think I would be as confident as I am today, which is amazing.
He could wrestle, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Made you tough.
That's scary. That's scary. Yeah. That's the kind of bodyguard you need to have. I also want to give you an opportunity, and thank you for this time. You shared with us this summer, and you were very transparent and quite vulnerable, and I appreciate it, about your grandmother and her battle with Alzheimer's. Mm-hmm. And it's a very real thing that someone you love doesn't really recognize you anymore, although their love never dies for you. Introduce your grandmother by name and how much she has meant to you throughout her life, impacting you.
Absolutely. She is Alice Musso Tillinghast. She was a very big part of my childhood. I have many memories of her, and obviously she's gone past that. But yeah, she was a major part of all those happy memories when I was a child, and she went to a lot of my softball games too because her daughters, my mom's side, she had 4 daughters, and they were all athletes, softball athletes. So she really enjoyed watching me play, and obviously it's different now, but I'm really grateful for those memories.
Yeah, great memories, and I'm guessing expectations you put upon yourself to honor her as a player, but also who you are as a woman. I'm guessing it's
absolutely
both. So
yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for introducing us to her. I know that's not easy, certainly a challenge, but we wanted to certainly make aware and continue to pray for a cure. Hey, listen, Phoenyx, this has been great. I mean, one of the favorites
Thank you
we've
for
had.
having me. Yeah.
We'd like to say we tell all the guests on the Players Podcast they're our favorite, but we probably do. But you're our most recent favorite, and it really was fun to get to know you. You took time. The purple nails really made the show, and we wish you well. Have a great rest of your year through the holidays and into the spring, and I hope it's a wonderful year. And we can't wait to see you get after it next summer again.
Thank you. It's been great.
Yeah, really good stuff. Phoenyx Silva, Uxbridge, Mass. Did I say Uxbridge right, by the way?
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Okay, Uxbridge. Just as close to Providence as it is to Boston, so it's kind of down south if you go in Massachusetts. That's where it is. When we come back, we're going to go to the Deep South. Shelby McKenzie, 1 year older than Phoenyx, has already made her commitment to Florida State. I had a conversation with her. I'll share it with all of you. This, of course, is the PGF Players Podcast. Thanks for hanging out. Shelby McKenzie, as we talked about, I think one of the lone to hit a homer in 2019, and it was a no-doubter. It was in the first inning of that PGF championship, And recently, Amanda, I had a chance to talk with her. And I think what's fun about bringing her back from the 12U age group is she has just gotten better and better and better every year. Now, her parents get the credit. She gets the credit first because she's done the work. But so do the Bolts and Rocky Thompson. Such a deep program, such high expectations. She's had to travel in different places she's lived to be with them. But as we have this conversation with Shelby, I want to give a little credit to Coach Thompson and the Bolts in her development.
Well, this is a program that we see in the championship year after year. So if you're a college coach and you're recruiting athletes, you would love to get an athlete from a program like the Bolts who you know has had championship experience. They know what it's like to play at the highest level on that highest stage, to feel the pressure and be able to perform. And the Bolts do this year after year. They get these kids in and they really, really develop them. They spend a lot of time and effort into their facilities, their coaches, their programming to get these athletes to that next level. Shelby McKenzie is no different, and I can't wait to hear that interview.
So Amanda's right. Let's have this conversation. It's very intriguing. And Shelby, we really appreciate you spending time with us on this unique podcast, video podcast, if you will. I want to go with where Amanda was talking and diving deep, and that's the uniform you're wearing right now for this conversation. Can you speak to the impact of the Bolts and what they have had on your journey as an athlete, as a woman, certainly, even some of the other challenges that you've taken on throughout your life? Your travel program since 9 years old, kind of speak a little bit about the Bolts and their impact that they've made on you.
No, the Bolts are a great organization. Rocky, the main guy of the organization, is an amazing coach. We just learned so much about the game of softball and how it transfers over into life. I mean, I've been here for 8 years now, and I've always been at all the organizational practices and everything. He's just a really good coach, and it's helped me, especially be able to commit to Florida State and play at the next level.
So let's talk about that commitment. We just dove deep on a September 1st athlete who just started through that journey like you did a year ago. As you recall, hearing from colleges, as you recall, the rule changed quite a while ago, so you went through it like the others now. As you recall going through that journey a year ago, September 1st, what are some of the key memories you have about, okay, I've heard from these schools, here's my list, here's how I'll make my decision. Kind of walk me through how that went a year ago.
So on September 1st, I, of course, waited by my phone and everything. And then Florida State wanted to set up a Zoom that night at 12:30. So I set up my Zoom, and then we set up my visit and everything. And from September 1st, I knew that's where I wanted to go. So it was my number one choice, and I'm grateful that they wanted me to. So
so why? Why was that the choice? I mean, why did you choose Florida State? I know about the obvious. I mean, you have a coaching legend there. You have a lot of success. But take it a few steps deeper than that, because there's more than that. Certainly, there are some feels, if you will. There are some reasons. And what are those reasons?
The culture there is amazing. Everyone talks about, family, everything. But there you can really tell it is all about family. And everyone is so supportive of one another. The coaching staff is just genuinely so nice that I can even tell when they're on the field playing at the World Series, they don't get tense. They're still having fun playing the game that everyone loves.
And what is the communication like? I think a lot would be curious. Okay, so you make your commitment. They hit you up past midnight. They did the right thing. They loved having that communication. You're in. Whatever time it took after that, you're in. So what has the communication been like in the year that has followed? Did they check on your progress? Can you ask questions? Talk to me about that communication.
So we have a Viber group chat, and it's kind of like a group me, and everyone, all the coaching staffs, all the players are on it, the commits are on it. And the head coach, will randomly send us little cute videos of the field, of her talking, a little checking in. And lately, the 2024 commits and the head coach, have been doing Zoom calls every Tuesday. So right now we're reading a book about adversity, and every Tuesday we have a little Zoom chat and talk about it, because we're reading the same book that the players that are right now there are reading. So I always text the assistant coach. We always ask so many questions, it's very free of talking and texting.
Your future home, as you said, it's not just words, it's actions that make it feel like your future home. So if you're working on a book about adversity, I guess I'll ask you, through your journey, maybe the last 3 or 4 years, what circumstance presented you with the most adversity? How did you navigate through it? How did you grow from it? Kind of explain that to me if you don't mind.
I would say just constantly staying at a high level of playing and hitting. And yes, I get better as a player, but so is everyone else around me. So just like fighting every day to stay at the top.
So there's never a lull, though. I mean, to me, like, when you're an elite athlete and you're in that group, you pick whatever sport you want around the country. If you're going to take somebody between 17 to 19 years old, you're in that world of you're one of the best athletes in the country in your space. So there isn't really that lull. You really aren't allowed to let down much, are you?
You are. In order to stay at the top, every day is a grind, and you just have to keep pushing through.
When you shared your thoughts with me this summer, you were rolling a 4.3 GPA. You were doing amazing things academically. So that's the other part of it. I mean, I guess I'll get to the third part of it. It's just being a human being a young woman, having fun, laughing, having a chance to maybe unplug and go for a drive and listen to music, whatever you enjoy. But that being said, the second part, beyond the athletic commitment of being one of the best in the country, is you roll with a 4.3. So what does your academic, look like this year? Are you able to dial back your schedule just a little bit because you're a senior? What has it been like, and how proud are you of what you've done in the classroom?
So I've worked hard from about like 8th grade to junior year with all my classes in order to keep the 4.3, and I've been taking extra classes. So this year I only have to show up to the high school for 6th period, which is our softball class. And then we have a junior college next to our high school, and I'm taking 2 college classes there this semester, and then I'll take 2 more next semester. So I can go ahead and start college classes, so I'll be ahead whenever I go to Florida State.
Yeah, overachieved much. Well done by you. What JUCO are you? Where is it at that you're taking those classes? What's it called?
It's Pensacola State College, but they have an at Milton campus. So it's 15 minutes away from my house, so it's very convenient.
They're probably thinking, since you're taking some classes for us, maybe you could play for our softball team this year. We'd love to have you join. You could help us out a little bit. Hey, I'm always intrigued because you and I started our relationship when you were really, really, really young, even prior to PGF 19, which we'll get back to. Which was a ton of fun through your brother. Jackson and I connected. You were traveling along, if you could, to PG events, perfect game events. And here he goes, right? He's a year ahead, if I'm not mistaken. He goes now into the college life. So he's experiencing at an elite school like you're going to at Mississippi State, the pressures, the expectations. You've watched him. How's he handling it? Do you communicate? What have you learned from him?
No, it's doing great. We text almost every day. I'm very proud of him, how well he's been doing his academics and still playing D1 college baseball, getting through the fall. We went and watched him scrimmage a couple weeks ago, and he did really well. So we're really excited for him. They play La Tech today.
Oh, okay. So there you go, rolling through it, keeping in touch, texting all the time. Shelby, it's interesting too. The other part of it is your mom's experience through the University of Alabama. Again, I talked to your brother about it at length, and it's impactful. My father played in the major leagues. I learned a lot. Even if I wasn't trying to learn, I learned from him and what he accomplished. Talk to me a little bit about your mom, Amy, her experiences way back when, what you know about that, but now how she's able to kind of impact your life as well.
I think it's great knowing that she went through the same process as me and my brother have gone through. So just hearing her stories growing up have really helped us know what our future is going to look like. So it's not too much on our plate when we know we have to go to practice and then go to study hall and get good grades, but also perform on the field as well.
As she did. What's the last great thing that you learned from her? Maybe even butted heads in learning it. What's the last great thing you learned from your mom where you pick something and be like, you know what? I think she's right about this one. What was it?
She always tells me to be your best you and not to be anyone else. So every day I just know to be the best version of myself and not try and be anyone else.
Oh, that's great advice. I'm much older than your mom, but comparison can rob us of our joy. And if we just compare ourselves to ourselves and what standards we have, that's good stuff. Your dad works awfully hard. Obviously, he's a public servant and has had a wonderful career as well. Introduce all of our viewers to this podcast to your dad, Brooks, who I enjoy spending time with.
He's a firefighter at Ono Island in Orange Beach, a little island off Orange Beach. He works so much there, and he also does some part-time at the Foley Fire Station as well. So he's been a firefighter for about 20 years, always helping people out. He's really, really supportive of me and my brother and the future that we have.
What goes along with watching a dad who has that kind of career and that kind of commitment? What's the takeaway from you? I mean, even if you don't ask a single question and you just lived with him and watched him, what goes along with that commitment that he has to his gig and a little bit sometimes of taking his life into his hands for others? What goes along with that you take away?
It's crazy just watching him get up super early to go to work and just fighting fires, knowing that he's putting his life at risk every single day is amazing to watch.
I'm guessing a lot of prayers go along with that when you worry about that. I'm guessing that's part of the language in your house to keep an eye on that. What's the last great thing you baked? I know you have a little bit of baking on the resume. What have you baked that's pretty good?
Some nice Yes, some nice pumpkin muffins.
Okay. And texture, what goes into that? What goes into that? Are there nuts in there? Do you have some what goes into that?
So my grandparents live on 8 acres of pecans. So we're constantly getting pecans from them. So a lot of pecans and some chocolate chips. Okay.
That sounds good. The chocolate chips threw me for a little bit of a loop there. Mixing in some chocolate chips with some pumpkin and pecans.
Nice.
That sounds very fallish. Are you feeling fall at all there? You're kind of a panhandle person. Are you feeling fall?
No, not really. I mean, it's gotten a little cooler, thank goodness, because this summer was way too hot.
Ish. I'm an Arizonan. This studio's in Arizona. We're not feeling it yet. We want it like you do. So I don't have this conversation without talking about 2019. I love as a content creator and a broadcaster and spending time with someone in a family and having a moment come together. This is the me side of it. And I want to go back to the you side of it. To know someone out there standing on the field, to be one of the only people that homers in an event, and Amanda and I were just talking about it, that's 12, while the 14, 16, and 18s are keeping it within the ballpark. You homer. You win a championship. You are oh so very young. Still, that moment is special, I'm guessing. It's got YouTube lore to it. What was that day like in hindsight? I remember chatting with you and your family after, but a homer in the PGF championship at 12, something that's always that book on the shelf and a great memory, yes?
Yes, I remember that day we were all super nervous because that was the biggest stage any of us 12-year-olds have ever played on. So we were all super nervous, but then I think after I hit that home run, I know me personally, I could feel it on my team. We just kind of settled down because after that was a 3-run home run, I think we scored 2 more that inning. And then I remember I went out to go pitch and they played the Home Sweet Home Alabama song or whatever. And I think we all started settling down and knew that we had a really good chance to win that game.
Oh, you were so young. That's crazy. Yeah. You were just a kid. Just a kid. You didn't think that back then. You thought you were ready and getting after it, but you were so young. Shelby, what a great reconnection. I know I've caught you in between action and playing and busyness, hence the uniform that you're wearing. Thanks for spending time with us on this unique podcast. Have a great fall holiday season and have an amazing 2024 season. Have a great one.
Thank you so much for having me.
Enjoyed having Shelby here. Certainly the pride of Pace, Florida, Pace High School. The Bolts represented well, as Phoenyx Silva did, representing Massachusetts, LaSalle Academy, and the Rhode Island Thunder. She just made her commitment, certainly, to Iowa. Love this podcast. Thanks, Amanda, for all you do for it as well, the legend of the sport. My name is Daron. We'll drop another episode soon, but that puts a bow on episode 6 of the PGF Players Podcast.